Hello again. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Andrew Symbolisti, and I'm the service manager down here at Pothier Motors. We're doing a quick video here of what a brake service entails. I'm hoping to do a bunch of these videos with a bunch of our most common services. So if after watching this video you are wondering about another one, please comment underneath, and I'd be happy to see what we can get going for a video. What we're going to do here is it's going to be very quick. I'm hoping to make it kind of a short video for you, but basically I wanted to run down what we do and what it takes to do a service properly. Brake service properly on those brakes. You'll notice that my guys will tell you about every 30,000 kilometers. Most of the Dodge, Fiat, Ram, Chrysler vehicles all need that brake service every 30,000 to keep your brakes from seizing. And I'm sure if you've been coming here for service, you've likely been asked. So I wanted to, take away the mystery there. We're going to be joining Kevin Vino. He's been technician here for 16 or 17 years. He's usually our tire wizard. He does a lot of brakes, a lot of brake services, and he's very thorough. So I wanted to show what our most thorough technicians do and what really all of our technicians do for a brake service. So what we're going to do is we're going to join him here right now. He's already got the tires off the vehicle. He's already got it lifted up. And he's just getting into the rear pads and rotors and the caliper there. So join me, and like I say, if you have any questions, please comment underneath. Thanks so much.
Okay, and now we're joining Kevin up in the shop. As you can see, he was talking at me there, making sure I got everything. What he's doing right now is he's actually sliding the sliding bolt out of the caliper. With the mount there, we don't have to take off the whole caliper mount, just the caliper. And he's also slided back the pin or the caliper piston. Both slid back okay. When they don't, that's when we'll tell you need a caliper replaced. Unfortunately, it just happens out here. It's a natural part of the brake wear process. But if you service them, it makes them last a lot longer. Now he's inspecting the pads for wear. Pad life is different on every vehicle, but we don't want to let you go any less than about 230 seconds. These pads passed, but as you can see, the top pad there is the inside pad, and that's actually worn out quite a bit more than the bottom one that my finger's pointing at there. Had they done a brake service previous to this, even one time, this vehicle had about 60,000 kilometers. Chances are those would have worn a lot more evenly, so this is why we always tell people to make sure they do a brake service. And what he's doing right here, there's an anti-rattle clip in there that basically they get a little bit of corrosion on them. And again, it's just our weather out here. And what he's actually done there is he's just taking a little screwdriver and just making sure that those are nice and clean. If they were worse, he'd take a wire brush. But basically that's where the pad sliders slide in and out of there. So they have to be nice and clean so that he doesn't have to worry about getting them stuck. And he just wiped a little bit of rust away from the rotor there. This vehicle sat for about 4 days. This is how bad Nova Scotia is in terms of rusting. This is why we say you gotta make sure you service your brakes. As you can see, it comes off of the rotor. It doesn't come off so easy in the areas that are hidden, like your pads and your sliders. Okay, and here Kevin's actually brought the pads he just took off the rear there over to the bench grinder. And what he's doing is he's actually grinding the rust and corrosion off of the little pad sliders that slide in those anti-rattle clips I showed you earlier. Again, the reason for that is if he doesn't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get a little bit of friction between that pad and that slider, and it'll seize the same way that your caliper could seize. Then you're coming back in here for major brake work. So Kevin finished up grinding up those pads, and now he's bringing them back. And what he's actually doing here is we have a special brake lube that he puts right inside those anti-rattle clips. We're always very careful. We've seen people that actually accidentally get some of that on the rotor surface. It's about the worst thing you can do. It's going to not only is it going to make the rotor less effective, but it's a potentially dangerous situation if you have your pads slipping on top of your rotors. Basically what he's trying to do there is he's trying to get them together as smoothly as possible. So if he had put that in and had any kind of a catch, he would have went ahead, taken them back out, figured out where it was catching, and ground off some more. But they went in really well. And as you can see here, I panned in for a close shot. You've got now your pads on your rotor, and you can see that everything's nice and lubricated, nice and clean. And now basically what he's going to do is go in there. This is another type of brake lube. This actually goes on the contact points for where the caliper squeezes the pads. Again, it's just to make sure that the pads and the caliper don't basically don't corrode together. It gives you that little bit more slip so that everything works properly. Now he just puts that over top. He's actually inserted the top pin, and there's a sliding pin. The bottom's an actual bolt that holds it together. So he's just putting that together for them. As you can see, it goes quite tight. And now that's basically the back one brake on the back. And if we get in close enough for a little bit of a close-up there, you can see the piston that I just pointed at is resting against the pads. Once he's done the brake service, he's going to get in, he's going to pump those brakes, and they're going to squeeze nice and tight and make the brakes work properly for this vehicle. Now, for comparison's sake, we wanted to show you a front as well. It's very similar to the rear, but there is one key difference that a lot of other shops don't do. We want to make sure that you folks understand what all we're doing for you there. So if you take a look, these pads in the front have a groove. And basically what that groove is for is to allow extra brake dust to get out past and get off of those rotors. Most of these vehicles, the front pads take much more of the brunt of the force. So what happens is you build more brake dust in the front, and it bungs up these channels, and then again it gives you an extra spot that's going to wreck your rotors. It's going to want to seize up your pads and rotors together, and it prematurely wears your components. So what we do is we take a hacksaw, no special tool for that, just need something to clear out that channel. You get in there, he doesn't come at it hard, but just enough to get that brake dust up out of that channel. And once it's clear, he can put it aside, and he's going to basically do the same thing with that we did in the back. Make sure that we do the inside and the outside pad. This is the inside. They generally won't have as much of the gunk in them, but if you don't do them, again, they cause an issue down the road when those fill up with dust and corrode. So there, he's cleaning off a little bit of the dust, and now he's going to take it over to the grinder, do the same grinding that he did on the rear. And again, you don't want to take off a lot of material here. It's just taking off that bit of grime and scale that's built up on there. You definitely don't want to come onto it and change the way that the pad sliding surface looks. You want it to maintain its integrity. And again, you can see there, hardly even touched it, just enough to make it nice and clean. So again, he's going to take them back. These have anti-rattle clips in the front as well. And as you can see, they're a little bit more corroded than the rear ones are. Most of that comes down to they get hotter than the rear ones do on a more common basis. So again, this time he's going to take a wire brush. He's going to give them a really good scrub. You can actually take them out as well, but it's very rarely needed, unless the vehicle really hasn't been done in a long time. And basically all he's trying to do is get rid of that little bit of grime in there so that the pads won't stick. He's going to take his special brake lube. Put that right inside those channels again and again, making sure not to touch your rotor. We actually had a customer here once that decided to do his own brakes at home and got a whole bunch of that on his rotor and then couldn't figure out why they couldn't stop. Certainly something that's worth mentioning. And now he's putting those pads back in. As you can see, he doesn't need to struggle at all with it. It'll go in nice and easy, and if it didn't, again, he'd take it back out and he'd make sure that he got rid of that little bit of catch. He'll hit those pads with the same, I guess it's like a friction lube that goes on the outside of the contact points there. And again, it's just to make sure that nothing gets seized solid. And now he's going to put the rest of the caliper back together. The front goes together exactly the same way as the rear did, with the top pin and the bottom caliper bolt. And that's really the gist of what a brake service does for you. The big picture, of course, is that it prevents premature failure of your brake components. If anybody that's ever had that unexpected cost of a full four-wheel brake job knows that it's not cheap, and a lot of the time these kind of services will actually prevent that type of repair from having to be done too early.